The opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not represent the views of any Grand Lodge nor a pendant body of Freemasonry.
Welcome to Masonic Shelf Shorts, a monthly dose of Masonic insight in 10 minutes or less.
We're your hosts, Brad Kohanke and Chris Williams, and each month we feature a different presenter sharing a short talk on a Masonic theme. Perfect for your commute, your coffee break, or your next lodge education night.
It's light, it's thoughtful, and it's straight from the shelf of Masonic knowledge.
So let's dive in.
Brethren, in the anteroom or the chamber of reflection, before the candidate ever sets foot upon the Masonic pavement, there is already a stir in his soul. And the stir is the beginning of work, ancient and sacred work. It is not with stone and mortar that we build, but through words and deeds. Tonight, I invite you to reflect with me on one of the earliest yet most enduring symbols of the craft, the ashlar. As entered apprentices, we are first introduced to the concept of the ashlar. Two stones, seemingly ordinary, yet indefinitely symbolic. We are told is the rough ashlar, a stone just taken from the quarry that's untouched by skilled hand. The other is the perfect ashlar, smooth, symmetrical, and fitted for the builder's use. These are not mere illustrations from an old manual of operative masonry. These are mirrors through which we might glimpse into ourselves. So let's begin with the rough ashlar. It is not a symbol of failure, nor is the perfect ashlar a symbol of arrival. Instead, both are a snapshot of a journey, your journey and mine. The rough ashlar speaks to our beginning, raw, honest, and full of potential. It is a symbol of untested faith, of questions not yet asked. It reminds us that every great structure begins with something that is unformed. It is unhewn, rugged, and bearing the marks of earth, which with it came. It is not yet shaped to purpose, and so, at first glance, it may seem crude. But within the apparent imperfection lies its greatest virtue, its potential. The rough ashlar is not broken. It is only in waiting, waiting for the labor of the hands guided by the intellect and heart. We too, as apprentices of the craft, come as rough ashlars, uninformed, yet full of promise. And the gavel in your hands is not given to break you down, but to break off the pieces that no longer serve this higher purpose. That work, the timing, the testing, the polishing, is your Masonic journey, and it is not comfortable work. You will learn, my brothers, that the lodge is not a sanctuary from the world's noise. It is an echo chamber that reflects it back, asking you to discern its worth from what it's keeping. The gavel is your conscience, the chisel, your discipline, and every blow you strike upon your inner self must be internal, for aimless strikes lead only to ruin. Let us not forget through the perfect ashlar that it is not a prize to be won. It is an idea. It is not placed before us to boast of what we are not yet to become, but to eliminate what we may become. But even this so-called perfection is an illusion if it leads us to believe that the work is done. Perfect, not because it is flawless, but because it is fitted for its actual use. Symmetry, proportion, and balance, these are not accidental. They are evidence of the labor guided by light. In ancient cathedrals, the master mason would test stones against the plans of the great work, and the perfect ashlar was not judged by how beautiful it looked, but how perfectly it fit into the place it was intended in the temple. And so it is with us as Freemasons. The goal of Masonry is not moral superiority. It is usefulness in the temple not made with hands. Our work is not to ascend to perfection, but to align with the purpose. And in this way, perfection is not a destination, but a direction, a trajectory guided by the great architect. But now I pose to you the question, what if the rough ashlar and the perfect ashlar are not two stones, but the same stone viewed at different moments in time? This thought changed everything for me. No longer is one object better than the other. The rough is no more incomplete than the perfect. Instead, each exists within the continuity of M becoming. One reveals where we are, and the other one reminds us which direction we are headed. Between them lies labor. Between them lies the light. This is the alchemy of our craft, not the transmutation of metals, but of men. The spiritual architecture of Masonry speaks to the transformation, not as an external performance, but as an internal pilgrimage. The journey from the rough ashlar to the perfect ashlar is not a straight path. It twists, it stalls, it darkens. And yet along, we continue, and we as Masons, in the truest of sense. Now consider this. What happens when the apprentice mistakes the rough ashlar for something shameful? He may hide from it. He may grow disillusioned with his imperfection. He may compare himself to others, forgetting that the labor of our soul is not measured in how quickly one polishes his stone, but how faithfully he works upon it. My brothers, there is no shame in being rough. The only shame lies in refusing the work. Likewise, beware of the illusion of the perfect ashlar. It is easy to see the polished man and think he is finished. But perfection, in the Masonic sense, is not a static state. Even the most refined stone must be maintained. And just as time and nature wear down the finest cathedrals, so too must we remain vigilant in our inner turn, lest our edges become dull and our foundations crack. As apprentices, your task is not to rush the process. Take the time to study the symbols, to understand the working tools, and above all, to reflect. The rough ashlar will teach you humility. The perfect ashlar inspires hope. But between the labor of them both, between them, that is where you will find the craft's deepest lessons. You will learn to silence the clamor of the outside world so you can still hear the voice within. You will learn that every ritualistic action is not for theater, but for transformation. And you will come to see that your lodge is more than a meeting place. It is a sacred quarry where the stones of humanity are shaped one by one. In closing, let me offer this for reflection. Freemasonry does not promise perfection. It promises a path. Masonry is not concerned with who you were when you entered this lodge. It is deeply invested in who you are becoming because of it. So let the stone be rough, let the work be hard, let the path be winding. For only the stone that is worked can one day be raised. So mote it be, my brothers.